Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol roster building episode. And today we are building a very interesting type of list, in my opinion, and that is going to be a death by 1,000 cuts list. So, the basic premise behind this list idea is we're going to be using a bunch of characters that are kind of doing plink damage, things like rapid fires and things like that. So, low dice attacks that are going to be averaging about 1 to 2 damage, and we're going to be putting so many of them into our opposing characters that they're still going to be taking significant amount of damage very quickly. But this is a great way of getting around effects like exceptional healing or Xavier's Dream, which will really only be able to stop one of these death by 1,000 cuts pieces. And in some cases where it's exceptional healing reducing it to one, that's really only reducing one, maybe two damage most of the time. So really, really valuable for those types of scenarios. If you're up against something like an X-Men or a Weapon X list and you're trying to out attrition, you can get around to some of those really annoying pieces of tech. Now, of course, there are some downsides to this. You're going to have some problems into some things like Thanos or Beta Ray that can reduce your damage to 0. So we might want to include some answers for that as well. We'll definitely have to think about that. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and start building up the roster here. So I have decided I think the best place to build this roster is actually going to be in S.H.I.E.L.D. under Mr. Fury himself. And we like Fury for this for a few reasons. The first one being that he has the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent grunts. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are going to be providing 2 extra 4 dice attacks. Even better, they have 4 dice attacks with a reroll on them. So that's going to be fantastic. There's a lot of other characters that work towards this really well in S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. So we're going to be including those guys too. So yeah, I think Fury just makes a lot of sense here, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be a very solid affiliation to kind of build as our baseline for this. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and filter by S.H.I.E.L.D. and make sure we include at least a good 4 or 5 S.H.I.E.L.D. characters in this roster. So looking at the S.H.I.E.L.D. roster, I think there's a few kind of instant includes here. The first one is going to be the original Winter Soldier. He has a rapid fire that also hands out the bleed, which is definitely contributing to that death by 1,000 cuts. Again, that's just another instance of 1 damage. He's also got the got your back ability, so we can even be handing out 1 to 2 attacks on our opponent's turn, handing out that bleed as well. Really, really solid. Even with his nerf making the rapid fire on a wild obviously is not as consistent as it used to be, but it's still very much relevant. It's still a range 5 attack, and he still has the got your back, so I think he's still strongly worth considering for this list. The next one I do want to look at here is the Iron Man slot, because in S.H.I.E.L.D. it's very, very valuable to have at least one of the 2 Iron Mans on your team, partially because Stark Armory is a really, really good card, especially for a list like this, where we're going to be throwing out a lot of kind of small attacks, so making all of those attacks 1 die harder, making them hit a little bit higher on average is going to be really, really nice when we do need to take down some of those higher priority targets. And I'm choosing to go with original Tony in this case. I think we're more than happy to have original Fury's leadership here, so we don't want we don't need the leadership from the 4 threat Tony, and we have other models that are going to kind of fill the roles that 4 threat Tony is doing. Meanwhile, 3 threat Tony here has access to this homing rockets, which has the explosive trigger here. Actually, the more that I think about it, I'm pretty sure no, he doesn't have anything like that. So yeah, this I'm justifying this choice as I make it. But the explosive trigger will allow us to spread a little bit more damage across some other members of our opponent's team here, just to kind of start that chain on a few models at a time. So really, really nice there if we are using homing rockets. Otherwise, he does just have a solid kind of plink attack here. That's also got a push, so that'll be kind of some extra little annoyance. Reasonably bulky model, and he provides us with a couple of great tactics cards. So Iron Man definitely gets an inclusion here. There's a few other models in S.H.I.E.L.D. that would make some sense. One of the ones I actually looked at was 3-threat Black Widow, largely because people don't run 3-threat Black Widow very much, and I find that a bit of a shame. She does have a rapid fire attack, but unfortunately, for all of the reasons people don't really run her all that much, I'm not so sure how I feel about her actually taking one of the slots here. She does also have parting shots, so she plays really well into this idea, but I think we might be able to do better, so we're going to kind of include her in the maybe that 8th or 9th slot when we come down to it. But we're gonna leave her out of the list for now. Instead, we're actually gonna look at another 3 threat that people don't tend to bring, and that is War Machine. And the reason why we're looking at War Machine over Widow here is he does have that extra little bit of bulk, giving him the extra reason to bring him here. But the main reason why we're looking at him is because of the rocket pod's attack. This has barrage, it's an automatic trigger. There's no need to get any specific dice faces showing. And it just lets you make the attack again in a different target within 2 of the original target. It's only a 4 dicer, so again, nothing too crazy, but that's kind of what we're going for here. So I think it fits reasonably well to bring War Machine in this list. A couple more models in the S.H.I.E.L.D roster we could consider here would be something like the Captain America First Avenger, who has the bounce trigger to try and make his attack against multiple targets. Personally, I find that trigger is a little bit inconsistent outside of his own leadership, so I'm not a huge fan of him, but he does fit the theme reasonably well, so he would be worth considering. Another one that I kind of like for this sort of list is Taskmaster. He has the ricochet on his shield throw, so kind of similar logic to why we'd be bringing War Machine, but the shield throw also gets around cover, which could be really interesting if we end up stuck on a map that's, something like Scoundrels, where they're going to have cover from all of our attacks. Something like Taskmaster could help us get around that. So I do like that. He also gets bonuses for targeting the same character multiple times, and you can totally play around with or rather being targeted twice by the same attack. The targets multiple times is not a thing on him. I always mix that up, but gives him a little bit of extra bulk, so you can definitely play with that. And he has the counter strike as well, so again, more chip damage, and that's another thing that benefits if he's being double tapped. So some kind of nice little bonuses that Taskmaster can provide there. So I do kind of like him, and he's another model that I'd be looking for an excuse to field here. So I think we're going to include him as our 5th member of S.H.I.E.L.D. The last member of S.H.I.E.L.D. I want to consider here is Nick Fury Sr. Fury Sr. is obviously a very, very powerful model. He's also bringing the Got Your Back that Winter Soldier is bringing, so having access to 2 of those could be really, really nice. In addition to that, he's going to provide some mobility to make sure our characters are always able to attack with siblings in arms. That's also really, really nice. And then his spender here, the show's over, allows him to follow it up with a prototype weapons attack, which is a great way of adding, more of that extra fewer attacks. So, or extra fewer attacks, extra low dice attacks, which again is kind of the idea here. He also has the grenades, which is going to be handing out the incinerate condition, which can be quite valuable for just making these small dice attacks have better odds to do more things consistently. So I do really like Fury Senior for this type of list as well. So I think he's going to take our 6th shield slot. And for now, that will be our final shield slot, although we will revisit some of the characters that we've already looked at when we are considering what to do for our final slots. Starting to look at splash characters, I think the first one, the most obvious one to me, is going to be Bullseye. He has the I Never Miss, so he is always doing at least 1 damage every attack he makes, which is really, really good. He's also got the ability to hand out bleeds, which again play into this even more, and his pincushion attack has a rapid fire, so he can potentially make up to 4 attacks that are guaranteed to make the target take 1 damage, which is really, really good. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and include Bullseye as our 2 sort of choice for this list because he does play really, really well into this idea. The next character we're going to include is probably the queen of rapid fire attacks, and that is Domino. Domino has the rapid fire on a hint, but also has really good dice math with the ability to treat skulls as criticals using probability manipulation. This is really, really good and makes those 4 dice attacks hit well above their weight. When you tack this on with some other things that we're including in this list, such as Stark Armory from the Iron Man, she's going to be throwing out 5 dice attacks with improved odds for criticals, which is really, really good. She's also turning off your opponent's ability to add critical explosions to their dice, so she's going to very consistently do a solid amount of damage. Also has access to the grenade bounce, which has the incinerate condition automatically, which is great, as we mentioned with Fury Senior, and also a wild explosive, which we also talked about with Iron Man being a good thing for this type of list. So all really, really great things and great reasons to include Domino in a list like this. So this next pick is going to be a little bit more of an interesting one here. We have Shuri, and the reason why I like Shuri for this list is because of the range 5, she will fairly consistently be able to hit 2 targets on her turn. She won't have to move or anything like that, so she is making at least 2 attacks most turns, but in addition to that, the 6 dice making it a maximum of 1 damage, has really good odds to do that 1 damage most of the time. So this is really solid for things like that. It's also got an automatic size 3 or less push, which is nice to give a little bit of extra control to this list. Definitely going to be a helpful thing for her to have. So yeah, this is just really well playing into the kind of idea of the list. In addition, we have the upgrades ability here, where we get to basically reroll some of our allied characters' attack or defense dice, and that's going to be really good for helping, again, just keep the consistency high on some of our other models. So great, great extra kind of ability there. And then when we do go up against some of those models that have the ability to reduce damage down to 0, she does have a spender that can hit reasonably hard and throw out the stagger condition if it comes down to it. So we have that option there as well. So I do think S.H.I.E.L.D has a valuable spot on this list. For the final slot in the list, there's a few models that could fit the bill relatively well here. Anything from Punisher to the previously mentioned Black Widow 2, few different models with some really solid kind of rapid fire type abilities, even stuff like Moon Knight here with his rapid fire throwing crescents and his random odds to stagger on the bow staff, which are really, really interesting. And a lot of different things that could play really, really well for this type of list. But for this specific video, I've decided to go with Mystique, and I'm picking Mystique for a couple of reasons. First one being, of course, that she does have a rapid fire. It's on a hit, so not too bad odds, and it's a standard, 4 dice rapid fire, so pretty similar to a lot of the other ones that we're going to have in this list. So really, really solid in that regard. In addition to that, she has a few extra things that she brings to the table here. She has this shapeshifter ability saying during her activation, your enemy characters cannot use reactive superpowers or team tactics cards, meaning she can get around some of the very common damage reduction to 0 abilities, such as Beta Ray Bills or even something like Kingpins. This is going to be really, really nice for dealing with those models since you don't have as many models in this list that can do that. So great way of getting around specifically Beta Ray. Unfortunately, she doesn't quite solve the Thanos problem, which I think is just going to be one of those things where you're going to have to start using some more of these spenders on these characters, but we will talk a little bit about that in tactics card selection as well. But yeah, I think that's really valuable to have in this list. You also have the Expert Sabotage, which if you can get it off is some great plink damage as well to ideally multiple characters. So again, just a really solid combination of things. And of course, she provides a really powerful tactics card to the roster as well. So we will talk about those next. So going into tactics cards, there's a few we need to grab pretty much right out the gate. We've already talked about them. And the first one of those cards is going to be Deception. Deception is Mystique's card, and it's just incredibly strong. If you're running Mystique, you should probably be running this card. It is going to take one of our restricted slots, so we are going to have to keep that in mind. But it's just a really, really powerful card and a great way to kind of pull a model in and then have your entire team rapid fire them down early in the game if your opponent isn't careful. So definitely something we want to be playing with there. Next, we are going to be looking at some of the Stark cards as well, most notably Stark Armory, as we mentioned, adding 1 die to all of these different death by 1,000 cut attacks is going to add up in a huge way. So Stark Armory is going to be very, very valuable. While we're on the topic of Tony Stark's cards, we're also going to take a look at Helios Laser Bombardment. Now, typically, you're not going to want to run both of these in the same game. It makes a huge, huge target on Tony's back, and he can't usually take that kind of heat. But we are going to include it in this list, mainly for the case of seeing a model that we cannot deal with the usual things in this list on the other side of the board. Something like a Thanos, which is really, really difficult to deal with in the death by 1,000 cuts method. This is a great way of taking him out of the action for a round. You can do it relatively early in the game because you're going to be running a somewhat wide team. So if you can get a solid Helios laser on a Thanos, maybe even round 2, take Thanos out of the action, flip him over so he's not as powerful on his flip side, and then worry about the rest of the team around him after that. So definitely going to be a really valuable card for that matchup, but I think in your average game, you're probably not going to want to run it. Looking at the S.H.I.E.L.D. affiliated cards, I don't think many of these play too heavily into the game plan that we're going for here. There are some kind of interesting ones like the Helicarrier Strike or something like that, which has that kind of area effect here. that's also going to be giving out Incinerate and things like that. So that's definitely an interesting choice. It is 3 cost for a not super amazing attack though, so I think we're going to pass on this one. I think there's a very good reason why you don't see that one run too often. There are a couple here though that are fairly generically good, such as Battlefield Medicine, which I think is going to be great with some of the damage reduction characters we have as well. Definitely a great way to kind of keep them in play, keep them going for a little bit longer. So definitely a worthy inclusion here. And then I think there's also a strong argument for something between either Sitrep or Shield Mobile, just as ways of moving characters around the board a little bit more, a little bit faster when they need to. And yeah, I think there's an argument for either of these, but personally, I prefer Shield Mobile. I mean, there's probably even an argument for both, but we're gonna go with this one today. And yeah, I just think it's a very solid card and definitely worth including. Can be a great way of keeping characters in position if they get knocked out for whatever reason, and just making sure you're able to continue attacking. So very, very useful card to have. The next kind of auto-include card that we're going to be talking about here is, of course, Fury's card Eye in the Sky. This is just a very, very important card to be bringing when you're bringing Fury, especially if you're bringing him in Shield. This is going to be a great way of keeping your guys alive and making sure they're not going down too quickly because we don't have a crazy amount of characters with crazy defensive tech, so definitely going to be a valuable thing there. So the next card I think we want to think about is what our second restricted slot is going to be. So I think there's an argument for a few different things here, but honestly, I think we're just probably going to go with the easy, safe one. We already kind of have a pseudo patch up with Battlefield Medicine, so I think we take Brace for Impact here. We don't have anyone who's particularly amazing against throws, so I think it's just a solid include here. Unfortunately, looking through the remaining tactics cards, unless I'm missing something, I don't see very many that are actually really contributing to this kind of death by a thousand cuts idea. So I think we're going to go with a couple cards that kind of fit the idea and also are just relatively decent cards. And one of the ones we're going to include is just Sitrep. I thought about it some more and I was kind of like, well, we are already including the Shield Mobile, but Sitrep is also a very, very good card. So I think it's worthwhile to have both of them. So we're going to go ahead and throw Sitrep in there as well, just because that is a nice card to have. All right, so our next include is going to be a little bit of a weird one. Not very many people run these, especially if they're not running larger characters, but I think we're actually going to include Smash in this list. And the reason why we want to include Smash here is because even though I think the majority, if not all, members of our team are only size 2, when you're playing for the Death by a Thousand Cuts and you're throwing a lot of attacks out, especially when those attacks are something like Domino's attacks under Stark Armory, being able to add even one more die to that attack is really, really big. So the idea of Domino throwing 4 6 dice attacks in a turn is terrifying, and for that reason, we're going to go ahead and include the Smash card here because I think it's probably really, really interesting with Domino specifically. And as unfortunately, it doesn't really fit the theme, but the last card we are going to include is No Matter the Cost, just to help out with those turns where we need to be throwing around some more spenders and things like that. It'll make it a little bit easier. I don't think the list is going to be super power hungry. As a matter of fact, I think this list is probably going to have a lot of characters with more power than they know what to do with, but that's kind of okay because we are going to be running things like Helios Laser, so having a few characters with a lot of power to go around is very, very nice, but it'll definitely help for characters like Shuri to be able to drop that spender once in a while when you need it, or even something like Fury dropping his spender, which can do some pretty big things on the field. So yeah, it's kind of the weak final selection in my opinion. I definitely think we probably would have liked to find something a little bit more on theme, but there isn't really much more that I can see. Maybe I'm blind. Definitely let me know down below if there's something you would have included. Strong, strong argument for Helicarrier Strike instead, just because it fits the idea a little bit more. But we are going to stick with No Matter the Cost for the sake of trying to make this a reasonably decent list if we can. So that is going to be it for tactics cards. We're going to go ahead and move on to crises. And I think crises selection is going to be relatively simple for this list. We're going to be going for the things that allow us to do more of the things that we're trying to do. So I think one of the first ones we want to include here is Montesi Formula. This is going to be giving us some Mystic Beam attacks, which of course can hit multiple characters, so that kind of contributes to the Death by a Thousand Cuts. We also don't really have any Mystic attacks in our own roster, so that's going to be something that can work reasonably well for us. The next one I think we want to include is Struggle for the Cube. Now, this one might be a little high scoring for our list, so I'm not super sure how we feel about that. But what we do like about this is that this is going to be dealing damage to our opposing players' characters, and that is great for us. We love to see extra damage that they are dealing to themselves, also in increments of one. So really, really solid there. Now, this next one is interesting because while I think this list would play really interestingly on something like a research station, I'm actually going to go with hammers to make all of these rapid fires and multi-target attacks hit just that little bit harder. So we're going to go ahead and do hammers over research station here. But I think there is an argument to kind of play for the research station where you can have something like Shuri sitting back a little bit, providing rerolls to your whole team, getting the most out of Stark Armory and some other things like that. Shield definitely always likes that kind of EMAP thing, so there is a strong argument for that, but we're going to go with hammers today over it. Just because we were talking about Domino with 6 dice attacks, how do we feel about Domino with 7 or, God forbid, more off of some hammers as well? Going into secures, I think we have some similarly easy, quick decisions to make here. We definitely want to avoid scoundrels at all costs. I almost clicked on it just because I usually really like this scenario. But one that we do really like is Demons Downtown. It's a higher threat, so it's going to allow us to put lots of these Death by a Thousand Cuts characters in. And it's going to be lighting all of our opponents on fire, so these are going to hurt extra hard. Definitely a scenario we are a fan of with this type of list. We're going to be relatively power wealthy, so we're not going to have to worry too much about things like pay to flips, but we do still prefer those kind of tighter, closer scenarios. So I think we're actually going to lean towards Deadly Meteors. I've just really been liking this scenario in general lately, and I think it works reasonably well for this type of list. So we're going to include Deadly Meteors as our third option here. And for our final option, there's a few good arguments that can be made here. We definitely appreciate something like a Gamma Wave, where again we get to keep that kind of clumped up area, being able to spew out lots of attacks on the lower threat as well. We've also got stuff like Infinity Formula, where I think we make the B split reasonably well. We don't love that we're giving all our opponents that much power, because we've already established we don't need it as badly as they will. So we don't love that part of it. So maybe there's even more of an argument for something like Mutant Madman in this case, which can also kind of provide some chip damage if they fail to flip our points. There's some fun things that could happen there, and I definitely do like the idea of Mutant Madman, but instead I'm actually going to select Sword Base for this one. And we like Sword Base because it's going to be a pay to flip. It's going to be relatively close quarters, but it's not quite as one line as the Gamma Wave. So I think we play to it a little bit better. We're not going to get torn apart by some particularly tall teams with some of those models that are already going to be causing us problems quite as easily as we would on Gamma. So yeah, I think we're going to go with Sword as our final option here. And again, we've already established that we don't mind the pay to flip idea as much. So yeah, I think this is going to end up being our list here. And we'll go ahead and get into the overview, but I'm actually really excited with how this has turned out. Alrighty, so going over the final version of the list here, for characters we are including Nick Fury Jr., Winter Soldier, Iron Man, the 3-threat, and also the 3-threat Winter Soldier for that matter, War Machine, Taskmaster, Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, Bullseye, Domino, Shuri, and Mystique. For grunts, of course, we also have Nick Fury's grunts coming along with us, which is going to be very, very helpful for this type of list. As far as tactics cards, our restricted slots are being taken by Brace and Deception. We've got a few solid character cards here as well, with Stark Armory, Helios Laser, and Eye in the Sky. And then we also have some solid shield cards with Battlefield Medicine, Shield Mobile, and Sit Rep. Lastly, for our generics, we have Smash and No Matter the Cost, giving us a little bit of extra versatility in certain cases. Going into our crises selection, for our extracts, we've selected Montesi Formula, Struggle for the Cube, and Fear Grips World as worthy terrorized cities. And for our secures, we have also selected Demons Downtown, Deadly Meteors Mutate Civilians, and Sword establishes base on Moon's blue area. And yeah, I'm actually really excited to try out this list. I don't know whether this will end up being one that I run on the channel or if I run it in an event, we'll have to see. The summer's a little bit quiet for events, so there aren't too many that I know of in the near future that I would have an opportunity to bring this to. So it'll probably just end up being something that we run on the channel, but definitely is something that we're going to want to try out at some point because this does seem like a fun list and I definitely want to give it a go. Just throwing rapid fires all over the place and seeing how much kind of 1 to 2 damage increments it will take to take down our opponent's team. So yeah, it seems like a fun list, and I'm excited to try it out. So hopefully that will be a battle report coming in the near future. But that is going to do it for this roster building. So definitely let me know down below in the comments if there are any characters, tactics, or crises that you think I should have included and chose not to here. Definitely curious to hear what you guys think, how you guys might have chosen to do this roster differently. Would you have done it in S.H.I.E.L.D? Would you have tried to do it somewhere else? I know it's kind of part of S.H.I.E.L.D's identity as they were very capable of doing this. Um, so that was why we chose to go with them, but I could definitely see something like this working in a few different places. So very, very curious to hear how you guys would have done this differently. But that is going to do it for my part. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We do discussion style content like this every week, and we also have battle reports running on the weekends. So if you're a fan of any of that sort of thing, feel free to join on in. But as far as this one's concerned, that's going to be it. So thank you once more for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, have a great day, everybody. Peace.